whole new world and you see people in a different way, and it's really been an amazing experience for me. So I did that for a while, and then I knocked around Asia for almost 10 years, and then I came back, and thanks to Tam, we took a life-changing trip down to Mexico together, met some of the Tarahumara Indians. What else did we do? Just kind of ran around, hitchhiked, and ran around in Copper Canyon. It was amazing. Anyway, and then I got my start at California Survival School as well. So mostly what we do with California Survival School is in the summers we teach children, and the rest of the year we teach corporate events, mostly in the Bay Area for like Google employees and Facebook employees, and it's a lot of fun. So it's kind of team building stuff. But our favorite things are excursions where we actually do go out into the wild with nothing but, say, a knife, steel cup, wool blanket, tarp, and that's about it. We don't even have packs. So, yeah, I'm Cami.
So the principles that we're going to be addressing today are going to be applied to a short-term survival scenario. In the U.S., search and rescue finds almost everyone within 72 hours, but unfortunately, some people die in that amount of time. So we're going to teach you how to stay alive for 72 hours. However, the stuff that we teach you today also applies to a long-term wilderness living situation. So the scenario is basically this. You're out hiking and you break your leg, or you get disoriented, or you're driving through Death Valley and your car breaks down, or you're in the snow. Or the principles we're going to teach you will apply to pretty much any environment, any situation. We're going to teach you the main principles, though obviously the resources vary. We're not going to get into the details of that because we don't have the time. We're just going to teach you the basic principles of those things.
All right, so your first step is always to check for immediate danger within your environment. That could be a flash flood, it could be lightning, fire, predatory animals, anything like that. And once you make sure that you're in a somewhat safe place, sit down and you just want to breathe for a little while. People make a lot of really poor decisions when they're panicked. They found people completely naked in the snow. Well, that has to do with dying from cold, hypothermia, but they've found people who've made really, really poor decisions. So you just want to sit down once you know that your immediate surroundings are safe and make a plan. And we're hoping today to give you the knowledge to teach you the principles so you know what your priorities are out there. Another thing that's really important that we go over is signaling. So if search and rescue is going to get to you within 72 hours, first of all, hopefully somebody knows where you've gone. But if you're anything like me, I'm constantly just seeing something cool on the side of the road, stopping my van and hiking out to the middle of nowhere, no phone, no nothing on me, right? It's not the best way to be. It's better if you call somebody, you let them know when you're expected back, somebody that you trust who can call search and rescue and get that ball rolling as soon as you don't come back when you're expected. Another thing that you can do is you can actually make a rubbing of the bottom of your shoe and put that in your dashboard. If that's up there, then they know, especially if it's a high traffic area, they know which shoe print they're looking for. And that can put them, hours ahead when it comes to finding you. So another thing that you want to do is signal to where you are. And what you need for that is contrast. Color helps, so colors that aren't usually found in the wild. It could be red or bright blue or something like that. And that actually, if you're choosing clothes for an outing, you want to choose something with a color that's hard to find in the wild. And movement, all those things help. So you could tie a flag up in a tree. Another thing I've thought before, because once I got my van stuck way out in the middle of nowhere, I didn't see anybody pass by for hours and hours and hours. And I thought, okay, I will stay here until I have about 3 days worth of water, because that's about what I can carry. And then I thought I'll get everything out of my van that's flammable, that I don't mind too much losing, and I'll make a big signal fire. So fire can be a great signaler too. Those emergency blankets, those like tinfoil ones, about the only thing that I think they're good for is signaling. They could shed water a little bit, but those are a great thing to tie up somewhere so they can move and signal. You can also learn to signal with mirrors, but that actually is a skill. I took a long class about how to do it. It's not something you can do immediately, so don't count on that if you're out in the middle of somewhere. Oh yes, you might have heard Tam and I. So that's our Where Are You hoot. We actually do it in the grocery store sometimes. We get some weird looks, but it's very effective. One hoot just means, hey, where are you? It's just like, beep,
Holler back.
beep. Yeah, tell me where you are. Two hoots usually means, hey, come here, but it's not an emergency. I just want you to come to where I am, right? Three hoots, though, is like our 911. If you hear three hoots, well, if I hear three hoots, I'm going to come running as fast as I can because I know that something's going wrong. So that's also a really good signaling strategy because when you're calling out to somebody, you're just like, hey, rah, 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 rah. They can't hear you. But if you give three solid hoots, then they know immediately what you're trying to say. So hooting is a really good way of signaling
And
as
that
well.
sound, because like when people call pigs, it goes "soop." So that sound carries much further than just our normal holler voice. So they say a hoot goes further than a holler.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and you probably know the international distress signal is anything in threes. So another thing I might do if I did do a signal fire is get a sheet or a blanket or something like that, put it between two branches, kind of hold the smoke, let it up, hold the smoke, let it up, and so on in groups of three. So, or you could do 3 fires if you have enough materials. You want them to be pretty smoky too, right? Okay.
So what we're going to teach you today is commonly known as the Sacred Order of Survival, and it's based on the rule of threes. And it breaks down like this: you can die in as little as 3 hours from what's called exposure, which means getting too hot or getting too cold, where your core body temperature is not in the safe range. Little as 3 hours, you could be dead. So therefore, our first survival priority is shelter, and in survival terms, shelter means thermoregulation, just keeping your core body temperature in that safe range. You can die in as little as 3 days without water, so that's our next survival priority, is water, so shelter, water. And then fire's kind of in the middle there because it helps with cooking food, treating water, warmth, light, warding off predators, signaling, tools, making tools. So fire is obviously extremely helpful, has been since the first time people sparked 2 rocks together. And then your first obsession and last priority is food. When someone's lost, they're like, what am I going to eat? I'm going to starve to death. The reality is that you have 3 weeks to 30 days before you're going to die of starvation, and some people have even lasted longer. And so food, surprisingly, is actually your last survival priority. So the Sacred Order of Survival, based on the rule of threes, goes like this: shelter, water, fire, food. And when we teach youngsters, we teach them a little rhyme, and it helps them remember, and so we're going to share that with you. Shelter, water, fire, food. That's the sacred order, dude. It's stuck in there now, right? You'll never forget.
Okay.
Oh, and an important thing to remember while you're addressing all of your survival needs is conservation of energy. Everything that you do has an energy cost attached to it. So at this point, you now have limited reserves of water and food inside of your body, in calories and hydration, and also potentially very limited resources to resupply from outside of your body. So you want to be very deliberate and very smart, strategically lazy is what we call it, about how you do, when you do, what you do to meet your needs. You want to consider conservation of energy so that you're preserving and being very strategic about how you utilize the hydration and calories that are inside your body that you cannot now easily replace.
Yeah, basically as soon as you get lost, you have a timer that's counting on your resources. So you want to be really careful. Like, people think survival is all about brute force and like running out into the desert and blah, blah, blah. No, it's just about kind of chilling out
People
for a
think
while.
combat's involved. People are always like, oh, survival, don't mess with her. I'm like, there's really no combat. I forage. Like, not that tough.
I pick plants.
Right.
Yeah. And that brings me to another point. A lot of people, I mean, especially in our society, on TV and things like that, when you think survival, you think big burly men. And we love our big burly men in survival. I cannot tell you how thankful I am when there's a big burly man in the group. But it really does take all kinds. There's a reason that your genes survived to the present day, right? Because way back when, your kind of genes, whatever characteristics that you have, were helpful to the group that you were in. So a lot of people, especially when we work with young girls and stuff, they're like, oh, survival, that's not my thing. It's everybody's thing. That's why you're here. And I've been in scenarios where having a different mix in the group, having different kinds of brains that work differently, actually really helps keep the group in a better situation. And I could share some stories of times when I remained silent because I trusted somebody else who I thought was more survivally, and we ended up in a really bad situation. We made some poor decisions. So